Mm. Hi, I think we're going live.
The word live.
Hi, everybody. I'm Megan Rees, and welcome to Therapist Thursdays. I'm so excited to introduce y'all today to Tonia Herrero. And we're going to talk about all kinds of stuff, creative arts therapies. Tonia, you want to just introduce yourself and what you do?
Yeah, so my name's Tonia. My pronouns are she, her. My computer is dinging. I don't know how to make that go away. I'm sorry. I am a licensed and board certified art therapist, a certified art therapy supervisor, and the owner of East Bay Art Therapy, which is my earring
Amazing.
right here. I love
Yeah.
fashion, so I get a lot of swag for my company. Like all my employees get hoodies and beanies. Anyways, fashion is one of my passions. Got a passion for fashion. Okay, so East Bay Art Therapy, we are a creative arts therapy group practice. We're based in Oakland, California, but we also offer telehealth, and we also contract with organizations all around the San Francisco Bay Area. Most of our staff are art therapists like myself, which is visual arts, but I also have a drama therapist and a music therapist on the team, drama therapy. And I hope to eventually have a dance movement therapist, which I haven't had on my team yet, but definitely future goal. So our private practice in Oakland, we work with ages 4 all the way through older adults. And all of the therapists on my team have a variety of specialties and different populations we work with. But as a whole, we are all focused on anti-oppression, liberatory, anti-colonial, decolonial practices, LGBTQ plus affirming, neurodivergent affirming, disability justice. And on the topic of disability justice, we are vendors of Regional Center of the East Bay and Golden Gate Regional Center, which is San Francisco, Marin, and San Mateo, where folks with developmental and intellectual disabilities can get services absolutely free from us, and Regional Center covers the cost. So that's really exciting as well. What else to say? Me, myself, and I. Should I talk about me as a therapist or?
Yeah, I was going to ask you, I love to ask people, like, what was their journey to becoming, like, who you are today in terms of your career?
Absolutely. So, being an art therapist is actually my second career. I'm going to take you back in time to 2003 when I moved to Oakland for undergrad. I got a bachelor's in fine arts, painting and drawing, at California College of the Arts. I took a community arts class where we collaborated with local public high school students in Oakland. And something went off in my mind. I was like, oh, I don't want to just be an artist. I want to like help people with art and facilitate young people's art creative processes. And so that led me to believe that the right career for me was to become an arts educator. So I actually, when I graduated, I did a minor in art education, and I graduated from undergrad, got my teaching credential, and began teaching full time at the high school that I did that community arts class for, which was across the street, Far West High School, OUSD. No longer exists. But yeah, I taught for 10 years as a public high school art teacher, and I loved it. But I found that the aspects of it that I was most passionate about weren't the teaching parts. It wasn't the discipline, the grading, the assessments, the teaching people to make aesthetically successful art. I was all about all my lesson plans were like, make art about your life, your feelings, your experiences, your trauma, your identity, your culture, like all of that. And I used to get like spoken to by the administration that I wasn't like focusing on like just having people paint pretty pictures of flowers and portraits of the president. You know what I mean? Like the art was raw, and that's what I loved. And it really hit me one day. I was like, oh man, I'm in the wrong career. I want to be an
I just have to like put a little pause on that. Like, I'm trying to imagine a world in which here you are, this like person who cares about like kids who are at a really like critical age of just development, and you're letting them and encouraging them to express whatever's going on for them, which I can imagine you saw a variety of things, and that was getting shut down. And I'm just like, I'm thinking about like as a parallel process, like how many of us creatives have maybe had an experience of being shut down for being creative in our lives. And just what if we just stopped doing that and allowed people to express and allowed people to make art and try things and to be celebrated for that, as opposed to like, okay, do that alone in your dark room or whatever. Sorry,
Oh,
I
and
just
censorship too. One thing that has always got me in trouble when I work for people, one of the reasons why I am the boss now, I own my own business, is I would get in trouble with people for trying to censor clients, students' artwork. Censorship, 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 and it's oppressive. Of course, we always want it to be a safe space for everyone, but I'm talking like just oppressive censorship of creative expression is not my jam. I'm all about authenticity. So that was a shock.
yeah. This is what the world needs right now, right? Like just more artists creating all the, and expressing and helping us tell our stories and figure all of this mess out. Anyway, I'll get off my soapbox. I think I interrupted your. So you were at this point where you're like, I would rather be actually using this to help people and for that to be my job. So if you want to say anything about how you ended up then
Yeah.
pivoting.
So I'm originally from New York, originally. And I was like, I just followed my heart. I didn't really do much research. I was just like, I want to become an art therapist. I want to go to grad school and I want to do it in New York, in Brooklyn, so I can live in New York as an adult because I only lived there as a child. So I went to Pratt Institute in Brooklyn, New York, like drove all my belongings across the country, lived there for 2 years in grad school, did some incredible internships, local communities in Brooklyn and Queens, and even out on Long Island, working mostly with adolescents because that's really my passion, and learned so much. And my teachers would always say, you're getting the elixir and you're returning, like the hero's journey, you're returning to Oakland with the elixir. So as soon as I graduated, I moved back to California, to the Bay Area, and had to figure out what the heck I was doing. Worked a bunch of different part-time art therapy jobs, even did a little teaching gigs on the side for extra money. And once I got credentialed as an art therapist, I started EBAT, East Bay Art Therapy, which was just me subletting a little tiny office with no windows and seeing a few clients part-time while I was working. And in 2 years, I was full with a wait list. By year 3, by year 4, I hired my first clinician, or 3, I can't remember now. And we just celebrated 6 years of business, and now I have a team of 10 art therapists and creative arts therapists. So it's just been booming, booming, booming.
I
And
love that. It's so inspiring, especially for me. Like I've been in and out of practice for so many. So on this iteration, I'm like, oh, so it could happen. It could happen. One could grow. It's amazing. Something that you and I were talking about earlier, I'd love to touch on is, I also have the same trajectory where I was trained in New York. I also became a licensed creative arts therapist, which means absolutely nothing in the rest of the country. And I also moved back to California where I had to like figure out the path to licensure. And what I love about your story is that you're not, technically licensed by the state of California from the Board of Behavioral Health side, and yet you can still provide services. So I would just love us to have a little chat about that and help educate the people.
yeah, so in the state of California, art therapy and art therapists by itself is not considered a clinical mental health profession. It's considered an allied health profession unless you are practicing duly credentialed like you are with the LPCC, LMFT, LCSW, PsyD, licensed psychologist, whatever, something licensed in California. If you do not have that in California, you're not recognized. And art therapy has no title protection in California. This is something we deal with a lot. Any person could say they offer art therapy or are an art therapist without any credentials or any training. There is no legal action to be taken against people who do that, and people do that. Therapists who are regular talk therapists that hands their clients some art materials will check art therapy on their Psychology Today that they offer it. And there's no legal title protection against that. So that's something we deal with. Anyways, so many states in the United States do recognize art therapy as a licensed, title protected mental health profession and service, like New York, like Oregon, which is where my license, my LCAT is actually in Oregon, New Mexico, even random states like Mississippi and Kentucky. I mean, all of these states, and California is not one of them. So here in California, me and many of my staff practice under our national art therapy credentials. And we do not diagnose, but we offer art therapy itself. I do have 2 people on my team who are duly credentialed as associate marriage and family therapists. So they have a LMFT supervisor. So they are able to diagnose and are considered psychotherapists in the state of California. So it's just a lot of it is semantics too, but that's how we are legally practicing our trade here.
Oh man, thanks for explaining that to people. I think that's really important. And we could probably have a whole conversation about who gets to regulate what and what those systems are. But I really love that this came up organically, because it's been a thing that's bothered me for a long time, is that, who gets to say art therapy and what really is that? And, I see people all the time, like back in my earlier days when I had more energy, I'd be like, excuse me, doesn't look like you actually are trained as an art therapist. That there's an actual profession that people actually specialize in. Now I'm not trying to never try to police anybody, but I would love for you to talk a little bit about what is art therapy? What might it look like in a session? How you're trained, how you're oriented to thinking about people and their challenges, anything you'd like to share about that.
Absolutely. So what I found in my decade-long time of doing this is that art therapy offers an accessibility to therapy when there can be stigma, especially in marginalized communities or non-dominant cultures in America. There can be a stigma, and it can be hard and intimidating to go sit down across from a stranger, making eye contact, awkwardly talking to this stranger about your deepest, darkest trauma and life. So, what art therapy offers is an alternative, sometimes more accessible way of expressing yourself that doesn't always have to be verbal. So, a session might look like a client comes in, if they do want to talk, or they all are verbal, because we can do therapy with folks who are nonverbal too. But we'll check in, talk about how their week was going, talk about any feelings that are coming up for them, maybe recap the things we were touching on last week and exploring, get any updates. And from there, in my mind, I may come up with what art materials, what art process, what prompts might be helpful for this person to address the here, now, in the moment concerns they're presenting to me. And I may offer them a certain art material or a certain prompt to engage in that addresses what they said they want to explore. They'll work on art. I may work on some art alongside them. Maybe we'll work collaboratively if that's clinically appropriate. Maybe we'll talk during art making casually. Some people like silence when they're art making, and that is still therapy. Silence in therapy is still therapeutic, especially when we're engaging non-verbally. And then at the end, we'll likely process and talk about it and look at it together and reflect. And the artwork will help this person gain insight into themselves. And say they're making a drawing about the depression they've been feeling. Imagine when you're depressed, the depression is here. It's enveloping you. But when you put it on the piece of paper, you can pull it back, look at it as an objective object outside of you, reflect on it, talk to it, right? So that is what is the magic of art therapy. The other thing is some clients come in and I don't need to give them a prompt. They come right in, they walk into the art closet, they look around and they say, I need watercolor today. And that's where I'm trying to get my clients to advocate for themselves so they know this is what I need to feel better. This is what I need to process. And they grab the watercolors and they just start at the beginning of session. And then maybe they check in while they're working. So every session looks different depending on the client, how long I've been working with them, their age, their developmental level, their level of support needs, and the art therapist. Every art therapist has a different style. So I'll stop
Yeah.
there.
Love it. Love it. Love it. I was thinking as you were talking, I don't know if this happens for you, but sometimes when I tell people I'm a drama therapist, I feel them tense up and there's this like projection of maybe some early anxiety about being on stage or having to act or having to public speak or whatever. And I feel like there's this instant thing that comes up and there's a defense of like, do I have to be an actor or do I have to so I'm curious if you experience that too in art making and what do you say to people?
Absolutely. So one of the things we do so often, especially with adults, teens towards adults, um, is we have to process and relearn a new relationship with art. A lot of people have little t trauma from their elementary school art teacher telling them, no, you colored that wrong. Your lines aren't straight. That doesn't look like a pear. That the eyes are too high. You know what I mean? Something like that, right? And they're shamed and they're made to feel, oh, I'm not an artist. I'm not a talented artist. So therefore, art is not my thing. And therefore, it's something I will not do in the rest of my life, right? And that happens around like middle school to high school. And some people have not come to us and they've not made art since they were in elementary school, right? So there's a lot of processing and relearning and developing a new relationship to creativity, because the truth is everyone is creative. Everyone can make art. Everyone can engage in drama, but you don't have to have any special talents or skills to benefit from it and to do it. So that's definitely something that I'm constantly educating the public and also supporting my clients with. So, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, same over here. And then, you didn't say this explicitly, but something that comes up, from my orientation is just this idea of play and how, when we're younger, we don't think about. I even watch it with like the kids in my life. This time where they are more self-conscious about their art making and their play, whereas at a younger time they're just like, whatever. I'm gonna get all the materials out. I'm gonna finger paint. I'm gonna do this. I don't care what it looks like. And just, yeah. So I love that we're having this conversation and reminding people that like play and creativity is something that we used to have sort of support around. And then at some point it goes away, but we still have all of the impulses and sometimes we just don't know what to do with them. Which leads me to a question I love to ask creative arts therapists, which is, you yourself are an artist, right? So was there ever a time when you sort of deprioritized your own art making for the sake of art making because you were focused on helping other people make art in your profession?
Do you mean other people like professional artists or?
Just in general, like I think that I have experienced a time where I like let go of my own creativity for creativity's sake because I was so busy like helping other people like
Hmm,
get in touch with their creativity and using my
right.
creativity in a therapeutic context versus like I'm just gonna write or I'm just gonna improv or I'm just
Yeah. So this actually came up yesterday. I was doing a professional development with teachers at a public high school in Oakland. The professional development was on self-care, vicarious trauma, compassion fatigue, triggers in the workplace, boundaries, all of these things that come up working in schools. And the English teacher said a self-care plan she has for herself is to read literature and detach the thoughts about her students and the class she's teaching. So read literature just for her own pleasure and take away that, oh, this would be good curriculum for this class, or oh, I could talk about this, or oh, let me write a lesson plan about this book I'm reading, and da 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 da. Oh, I should read this book because then my students, da da. And it's the same thing as a creative arts therapist, right? I need to be able to make art myself for my personal self about my own feelings and experiences without thinking of, oh, how could I use this with clients or this and that? Because it's like we need to be able to turn off working. We can't, but it's easy in this profession to just merge work life with personal life. And so that boundary is so important.
100%. I mean, as a more mature therapist, I'm understanding that now, and just as a more mature artist, right, a creator, I'm really understanding that. I saw a talk by Meg LaFauve, who wrote Inside Out, both of them, at a conference, and she said when creators don't create, like we get anxious and we don't know what to do with this anxiety, and so then our brain tries to make sense of it. Oh, it's because of this problem and this problem, and it finds problems, and then you find yourself snapping at people because you're like, well, clearly it's a problem in my relationship. And when we get back to just making art and creating for the sake of doing that, we tend to just like like come back into our bodies and all of that great stuff. So I'm really passionate that creators need to create. I mean, everybody should create, but
Wow.
especially
And
creators.
like we were saying before about play, also creating where we're not focused on the finished product, where we're just playing with the art materials, just playing on the page. I love the Paul Klee quote, drawing is taking a line on a walk, right? Who cares what the
Mm,
finished product looks like? Let's just take the paintbrush on a walk across the page and enjoy the process and the therapeutic benefits. um, you know, it really, art
yeah,
making does activate our medial prefrontal cortex, which brings us pleasure, right? There is
yeah.
neuroscience behind creativity.
100%. I mean, and just like if we are someone who sees the world in metaphor and we get a chance to express, we tend to be able to communicate to people better when we've had an experience of being able to communicate in a way that makes sense to us. And so people who are creative, like definitely you could see a creative arts therapist, and, and get some play in while you're at it. Awesome. Is there anything else you wish people knew about art therapy or how you use it or the business of therapy? Like you are not only a therapist, you're an entrepreneur and a business owner. So anything else you'd love us to know?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I this company that I've created is like an art piece to me. You know what I mean? And I really strive to be the boss and employer I always dreamed of having, someone who is compassionate and exciting and collaborative and willing to make accommodations for neurodivergence and um, willing to be authentic and transparent and wear your crazy outfits and your tattoos and your piercings, right? That is what I want from my staff, because I want clients to be attracted to working with a therapist that is authentically themselves. Because aren't we trying to get our clients to be authentically themselves? Right? Is that the whole goal? Right? We don't need to put on a business casual, and hide our true, fun, colorful identities. So I'm trying to build a community within my company of people who like-minded, liked values people who want creativity, empowerment, authenticity, and a diverse team. And a very diverse team that we can learn from. So we all learn from each other. I learn from my employees. Some of my employees have way more clinical experience than me, right? I look up to them, right? I'm humbled by them. So I'm honored
So wait,
to have them.
I'll just to recap. So you're saying that compassion, accommodations, diversity, open communication are all things that make a good company culture?
Absolutely. I get great feedback from my employees. And when I get constructive feedback, which I ask for often, I really take it to heart and I collaboratively make changes in structure. Like, I want to hear it. I want to talk about it. Staff meetings are all about, tell me what you need. How can we work together to make this work for everyone? Right?
I love that. And I am just guessing that your employees don't see you as less of a leader because you are transparent and you're willing to take feedback and you're open to suggestion.
Absolutely. I still have boundaries and I still am firm when I need to be firm and hold those boundaries. And I also admit when I make a mistake and apologize, right? And let me tell you, it's not easy, especially someone who deals with perfectionism and people pleasing and codependent tendencies. Nothing about this job is easy. I have my own therapist who is a yoga therapist, by the way. I love yoga. And, I'm constantly challenged by this work to work on myself and my interpersonal relationship skills. DBT. But but I love the process. Even when it's difficult, it helps me grow as a person, and I want to grow with my company and with my employees. So yeah.
I love that. I'm like sliding my application in. No, just kidding. I'm building my own version of it just very slowly.
Yes.
I love that. You said something amazing. I already forgot what it was because perimenopause. But oh yeah, I mean, we were talking about that before we got on. Of like, I don't know if people know that like therapists see therapists too, and like I was telling you when we were talking before we went live, like I had my own therapy this morning and I was feeling a little raw today. And I'm like, I don't know what's gonna happen because like I had to process some hard things this morning, and that was before I had any of my other meetings. So we do that too, and it's so important. I think it's I feel like it's the responsible thing to do for me to be in my own therapy as I'm working with other people. I wish other people saw it that way, but I'll get off my soapbox. Anyway, as we're wrapping up, I would love for you to tell the people how they can work with you, all of that stuff. Yeah. And you and your staff, obviously.
Absolutely. Visit our website, eastbayarttherapy.com. We've got an extensive website that talks about all of our services. If you're interested in working with one of our therapists, you can schedule a free consultation call with our intake coordinator, Carolina, who is bilingual in Spanish as well. Or you can send us a message on the website if you're interested in a different type of service, and you'll get the right person will contact you back. So also you can follow us on all of our socials. It's just at East Bay Art Therapy. We're on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. And
Amazing.
we showcase a lot of fun, creative stuff.
And are you able to see people via telehealth also? And what regions can you cover?
Absolutely. So I have definitely California, and then I have one staff who's licensed in Oregon and New York, and I'm also licensed in Oregon. But there are other states. We have a list on our website that do not regulate the practice of art therapy. So if you live in one of those states, we can see you. And so that list is on our website.
And then in person, where are you?
We're currently just in Oakland at our main offices in Oakland, right off 580. Very convenient. Parking is actually easy. But bookmark this. My next dream is to open up multiple offices in other parts of the Bay Area. So I'm hoping for the Peninsula and the South Bay. Those are the ones I'm focused on next. So
Love it.
stay
Love
tuned.
it.
Stay tuned.
And you do workshops for companies. So any you want to plug that?
I do trainings, I do professional developments, I do wellness workshops for nonprofits, corporations, government agencies, all of the above. And that's mostly what I do myself. Sometimes one of my staff does it, but I mostly do those myself. So it's a good time.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. Well, we'll make sure everybody has those notes in the show notes. I don't know, in the comments. I don't know. But thank you so much for chatting with me today. It was lovely to get to know you. And we'll say goodbye for now. I'll end the stream and